There is something ancient stirring beneath the surface of the human psyche. Something wild, something primal, something monstrous. It waits in shadowed forests and behind polite smiles, growling softly under the surface of the civilized world. And if you listen closely, you can hear it breathing. Writers take heed. To summon a werewolf onto the page is to breathe life into the rawest parts of the human condition. These creatures are not simply beasts of fang and fur. They are metaphors of transformation, allegories of rage, symbols of the fractured self. But why, after centuries of ghost stories, vampire tales, and demon myths, do werewolves still grip our imaginations so tightly? Let us begin where all haunting stories do, with the why. The timeless appeal of the werewolf. Werewolves exist at the crossroads of predator and prey, of man and monster. They are the manifestation of our most ancient fear, losing control. In a world built on rules and civility, the werewolf is chaos incarnate, blood-soaked, bone-shifting, merciless. The transformation from human to beast is more than skin deep. It is a shedding of morality, of ego, of everything that makes one civilized. And yet, that is precisely what fascinates us. What lies beneath our own skin? What might emerge if the moon were full and all restraint vanished? This duality, the struggle between man and monster, tells a deeply psychological story. It allows your readers to explore fear and freedom all at once. The werewolf is terrifying because we recognize it. It is us in a different form. The werewolf in popular culture, from Lon Chaney Jr.'s tortured Larry Talbot in The Wolfman, to the brooding, reluctant lycanthropes of Underworld, Teen Wolf, and The Witcher, the werewolf has evolved into more than a monster of the week. It has become a vessel for identity, trauma, addiction, sexuality, and other deeply personal metaphors. In the golden age of Hollywood horror, the werewolf was a cautionary tale of what happens when science, morality, or fate meddles with nature. But as modern sensibilities shifted, so too did the creature. Today, werewolves are warriors, anti-heroes, and tragic figures. They are cursed lovers and secret protectors. They represent repression and the catharsis of unleashing what's hidden. The werewolf is no longer just hunted. It is understood. And this, dear writer, is where your opportunity lies. The psychological depth creating a compelling werewolf character begins with embracing the layers beneath the fur. Ask yourself not just what your character becomes, but why. Why does the change occur? What is it reflecting? A werewolf is more than a physical metamorphosis. It is symbolic of internal conflict. Consider a soldier struggling with PTSD, whose transformation mirrors their fractured mind. A teenager wrestling with identity, whose lycanthropy mirrors the chaos of adolescence. A woman scorned by society, whose werewolf form becomes the only time she feels truly free. Your werewolf can embody repression or liberation, depending on the story you wish to tell. But be warned, the more human your werewolf feels, the more monstrous their fall becomes. And that is what will keep your readers up at night. So now, you understand the appeal, the primal allure, the thematic weight. But where did these myths begin? What truths and lies gave birth to the first howls in the night? If you're ready to dig into the past, to trace the claw marks left by ancient storytellers, say the word, and we'll continue. Before you shape your werewolf into a unique and unforgettable character, you must first understand the blood that runs through its veins. No monster rises without a myth. No transformation occurs without origin. The werewolf legend has stalked across centuries, continents, and cultures. And while the rules of lycanthropy may shift like the moon itself, the bones of the lore remain primal. Let's begin with where it all started. Before Hollywood, before silver bullets. When the howls echoed through the oral traditions of terrified villagers and the ink of medieval scribes. Mythological roots, the first howls. The idea of men turning into beasts is not confined to any one place. It is a global phenomenon, rising in parallel across civilizations that had no contact with one another. In ancient Greece, there was Lycan, the king who served Zeus the flesh of his own son. As punishment, the god turned him into a wolf, a tale that echoes the Latin root lycos, meaning wolf. Here the transformation is divine retribution, a punishment for moral depravity. In Norse mythology, Berserkers were warriors said to don the pelts of wolves or bears, entering a trance-like rage that made them nearly unstoppable. Not quite literal werewolves, but the essence of the beast, violence, fury, invincibility, was worn like a second skin. Among Eastern European folklore, particularly in Slavic countries, werewolves were often seen as witches or cursed souls, dangerous, contagious, and shunned. These werewolves were creatures of the forest, sometimes tied to demonic packs or born under evil omens. In India, shape-shifting beings called rakshasas were said to take on beastly forms. In African lore, tribes told of men who became hyenas or leopards. Again, the theme of transformation as power and danger. These roots are essential, writer, because when you build your werewolf, you are not just building a monster, you are resurrecting a tradition, one that spans oceans and millennia. The transformative process, flesh, fury, and fracture. Now comes the most visually captivating part of the myth, the transformation. Think beyond the cinematic writhing and bone popping. Consider the symbolic weight. What does the change feel like? Is it euphoric, painful, shameful? Is your character conscious or lost entirely to instinct? There are many variations you can explore. Slow transformations, bones crack over minutes. Fur sprouts painfully. The human self is gradually buried beneath the beast. Instantaneous shifts, perhaps triggered by fear, rage, or the presence of a specific person or object. Quick, violent, and unpredictable. Partial transformations. Some werewolves do not lose their human form entirely. They grow claws, change their eyes, or become a hybrid, a terrifying blend of man and monster. And then there's the emotional and psychic toll. Does the character remember what they do in wolf form? Do they feel guilt, pleasure? Do they try to resist or give in completely? Is the transformation tied to an emotional trigger, such as heartbreak, grief, or rage? The more deeply you explore this process, the more believable and horrifying your werewolf becomes. The curse or choice. Origins of the beast, one of the most critical choices you'll make as a writer. How does your character become a werewolf? Let's explore the three most popular paths. The hereditary curse. The werewolf blood runs deep. Maybe your character comes from a long line of cursed beings, each generation more haunted than the last. This can lend itself to tragic family dynamics, hidden pasts, and the weight of legacy. Your character may not even know they are cursed until it's too late. The bite, the classic. Bitten under a full moon, often by accident or in a moment of violence. The bite as infection model works beautifully for stories about fear of contagion, societal rejection, and the slow loss of control. Here, the transformation is sudden, life-altering, and often unwanted. The willful transformation. Not all werewolves are victims. Some choose the path. Maybe your character made a pact with a forest spirit, drank a potion, took a ritualistic oath under a blood moon. These werewolves have agency, and with that comes ambition, purpose, and perhaps darkness. Don't be afraid to twist the formula. A cursed child might embrace the beast. A willing werewolf might come to regret their decision. The origin story is your foundation. It defines their relationship with the monster within. The roots are ancient, the transformation is terrible. The origin is yours to define. But what of the soul beneath the fangs? If you're ready to dig into the heart of your werewolf, into their fears, dreams, and contradictions, say the word, and we'll continue with a monster is easy to write. A character, that's where the work begins. You've seen the claws, the glowing eyes, the transformation beneath the full moon. But none of that will haunt your readers unless the soul inside the beast feels real. Your werewolf must be more than a collection of traits. They must be a living contradiction. They must be human. Let us begin with what lies beneath the fur. Motivation. Beyond the basics, the story. Behind the snarl, ask yourself this. Who was your character before the change? And what has the transformation revealed about them? Were they meek, unnoticed, now discovering a power they never knew they craved? Were they powerful already, now cursed to see their strength as a danger to others? Were they seeking vengeance, love, freedom, escape? Build your werewolf with the same depth you'd give any protagonist. Flesh out their backstory, relationships, and desires. Consider, what do they want more than anything? What are they most afraid of? What do they believe the transformation has cost them? And perhaps most importantly, do they see themselves as the monster or the hero? Conflict is the marrow of character. If your werewolf doesn't wrestle with something, internal or external, they'll feel flat. Let them struggle. Let them doubt. Let them question who they are in both forms. Balancing human and beast, your character walks in two worlds. One of logic, love, and order, and another of instinct, hunger, and chaos. They are not simply one or the other. They are both, all the time. This tension is where your story lives. You might show their struggle through sensory overloads. Their senses are sharper even in human form. Smells distract, sounds overwhelm. Touch becomes electric or painful. Emotional instability. Rage is closer to the surface. Desire hits harder. Fear is more physical. Unwanted instincts. The urge to chase, to kill, to dominate. These can intrude even during calm moments, making the character question their own humanity. Don't shy away from showing both sides. The horror of losing control and the thrill of it. Let your character be both the predator and the protector, the man and the monster. You'll find they feel more real that way. The power of choice. At the heart of every great werewolf tale lies one central question. Does the character accept what they are, or fight against it? This choice defines their arc and can evolve over time. A character who begins by resisting the change may learn to embrace it, wielding their power to protect others or exact revenge. Another might indulge in the transformation early on, only to later realize what it's cost them. Their family, their soul, their identity. Choice is what separates a beast from a character. Show your werewolf making decisions, not just reacting. Let them choose to run, to fight, to hide, to reveal. Let their choices have consequences. Even if they are cursed, they still have free will. This is what will make readers care, not the fangs, not the snarls, but the heartbreak behind them. You have your werewolf now. You know their past, their pain, their power. But a character cannot exist in a vacuum. They need a world, a place to prowl, to fear, to belong. If you're ready to build that world, say the word, and we'll move on to you've forged a werewolf, unique, conflicted, alive. But even the most complex character withers in a hollow world. To make your werewolf truly resonate, they must exist within a believable, breathing environment, one that challenges, defines, and reflects their journey. This world can be gothic or futuristic, urban or rural, grounded in realism or drenched in the supernatural. What matters is that it feels real, cohesive, and intertwined with your werewolf story. Let's begin by digging into the myths that shape the land. Building a world of myth and legend, no creature exists in isolation. Even if your werewolf is the only one, there must be whispers, stories, cautionary tales. Ask yourself, what do people in this world believe about werewolves? Are they seen as cursed monsters, noble warriors, evolutionary mutants, guardians of sacred lands? Are there legends carved into stone, warnings in nursery rhymes, hushed warnings passed down through generations? The more layers of mythology you weave into your world, the more immersive it becomes. Maybe villagers nail iron to their doors on full moons. Maybe urban teens dare each other to walk the woods at dusk, chasing myths they don't understand. Maybe entire religions have risen or fallen based on werewolf lore. And if you're writing a modern or futuristic story, consider how ancient myths have survived or evolved. In some worlds, werewolves are myths. In others, they're biological anomalies studied by corporations. The more textured your world, the more believable your werewolf becomes. The impact on society. Now that you've established your werewolf's world, ask, how does society respond to them? This will define the stakes of your story. Are werewolves hunted, worshipped, hidden, weaponized? Here are a few angles to explore: fear and prejudice. Perhaps society knows about werewolves and loathes them. This sets the stage for themes of discrimination, identity, and secrecy. Your character may be forced to hide who they are, or risk exile or death. Curiosity and exploitation. In a more modern or sci-fi setting, werewolves might be the subject of fascination. Scientists want to study them. Governments want to control them. This opens doors to moral quandaries and bioethical tension. Normalization. Maybe werewolves have been integrated into society, registered, tracked, even medicated to suppress transformations. But what happens when one rejects those rules? Hidden worlds. Your werewolf could exist in a shadow society, unknown to the broader public. Here, secret politics, rival pacts, and ancient treaties create a web of intrigue. Perhaps their world hides in plain sight, beneath ours. Whether your werewolf walks among humans or hides in exile, their relationship to society will drive conflict and deepen character, the moral dilemma, and now the heartbeat of horror. Werewolf stories are rarely about the creature alone. They're about what it means to become something else, something feared, something powerful, something monstrous. You must ask and answer some hard questions. Is the werewolf evil or misunderstood? What is more monstrous? The beast that kills out of instinct, or the human who kills out of hate? Is it right to cure the curse, or does that rob the werewolf of part of their identity? Consider the ethical implications of werewolfism in your world. If someone is infected, should they be executed? Is there a cure? A treatment? Are werewolves allowed to have families, vote, work? What happens if one commits a crime? Do they blame the beast or hold the human accountable? These questions are not just world-building, they are soul-forging. When your werewolf is forced to confront moral gray areas, your readers are forced to do the same. The best horror lingers, and it lingers because it reflects something real. Now you have it all. A creature born of myth, shaped by pain, and unleashed in a world as rich as it is ruthless. But a story is not just world and character. It is voice, action, atmosphere. If you're ready, we'll bring it all together in. You've done the hard work. You've summoned the legend, forged a soul, and carved out a world rich with danger and wonder. But now comes the alchemy, turning all of this into a story that breathes, hunts, and howls through your reader's imagination. How do you write a werewolf that lingers in the mind? One that readers can see, feel, fear, and perhaps even love? Let's begin by painting the beast, visualizing your werewolf. Whether your werewolf is grotesque or elegant, grounded or fantastical, its appearance says everything about your tone, your mythos, and your character's transformation. Consider the following elements. Size and form. Is your werewolf hulking and broad, a walking nightmare, or lean and sinewy like a shadow in the dark? Dance. Do they walk upright like a man or run on all fours like a wolf? Perhaps a hybrid of both. Shifting posture with emotion or environment, fur and eyes. The color of the fur can carry symbolism. White for cursed purity, black for vengeance, silver for legacy. Eyes can glow, cloud, or reflect the human soul still inside. Scars and symbols. Does the body bear reminders of past hunts, shackles, rituals? These can reveal story elements without a single word. Use imagery that goes beyond the surface. Describe how their presence affects the world. Do birds fall silent when they approach? Does the air shift, thick with some primal tension? Write not just what they look like, but how they feel to others. That's where terror lives. Writing exercises to deepen the beast to bring consistency and complexity to your werewolf. Here are a few exercises. A day in their human life. Write a quiet, mundane scene from their human perspective. Perhaps they shop for groceries, visit a grave, or stare out a window. Let the wolf bleed in, through senses, memories, or anxiety. First transformation. Recount their very first transformation. Focus on every sensation, from the tearing of muscle to the terror of losing control. What did they see, hear, feel? What broke inside them? What awakened? The regret. Write a scene the morning after a full moon. Let them wake up in the woods, blood on their hands. Did they kill, escape, fail to protect someone? Guilt is a powerful motivator and a revealing one. Confrontation. Create a dialogue scene where someone confronts them. Maybe someone who knows their secret, or someone who suspects. Watch how your werewolf lies, evades, or confesses. While shifting, what thoughts remain when the bones crack and fur grows? Is the mind a chorus of voices? Does the human self disappear or scream silently? These moments anchor your werewolf's arc. They make the supernatural personal, painful, real. Finding your audience. Werewolves cross genres. Depending on your tone, themes, and storytelling style, your creation might thrive in different literary dens. Horror, emphasize dread, transformation, body horror, and existential fear. Urban fantasy. Integrate werewolves into modern cities with other supernatural beings, using secret societies, magic, and gritty politics. Paranormal romance focus on emotional and romantic tension between the human and the beast, often exploring themes of forbidden love and primal desire. Dark fantasy place your werewolf in an epic or medieval world, using bloodlines, curses, and ancient war between beasts and men. Science fiction frame werewolves as genetic mutations, bioweapons, or alien hybrids, bringing science to the folklore. Each genre changes how your werewolf is seen, but the core truth remains: they are a mirror of what we fear, of what we want, of what we might become if all our masks were torn away. So consider where your werewolf story belongs, and then let it tear its way into the reader's soul. Werewolves have endured because they are not monsters at all. They are reflections. They are what we become when we lose control, when we stop pretending. When the full moon rises and something ancient inside us says, run, fight, feed, feel. To write a werewolf is to ask, what part of you still hungers? What part of you do you fear becoming? And what part of you, once revealed, might finally set you free? That's the story. That's the howl. Now go write yours. If you enjoyed this story and want more chilling legends and terrifying tales, make sure to like this video. It really helps us out. You can also click on our Ultimate Werewolf playlist to watch more horror and cryptid stories. The link is in the description below. And if you love horror, folklore, and unexplained mysteries, subscribe to the channel and join our growing community of fear seekers. But don't stop there. Turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Because in the world of horror, the scariest things happen when you least expect them. And trust me, you don't want to be left in the dark. Welcome to the darkness.